Here we go. Big play Pokemon changes on the way for 2017. Get ready for an epic year of competitive Pokemon TCG and video game battling at all levels, including the Championship Series. With all new events in 2017 Play Pokemon season, we are making significant changes to the program to improve players' chances to compete and win across the world. Take a look. Now, I think this is absolutely needed because the current championship system in Pokemon is absolute garbage. And I'm saying this for VGC. I don't know how good or bad the TCG is, but at least on the VGC side, so I'm more experienced with it. It's pay to win. It's way too over competitive and elitist. Like, if you win, say you're a random standout player that lives in a random state, but you know you're one of the better players in that state because you actually dedicate time and you're really good at the game, but you can only make it to the one regionals that state offers. And even then, it takes a lot of travel. You know, you might be in a small town and then you have to get your parents to drive you for a couple miles, or you have to get friends to carpool, or you have to take a bus. Either way, like, say if you are a legitimately very strong player, but you don't care about like the whole VGC Nugget Bridge community or anything like that, you go and you win regionals. That means you're an amazing player, but it means literally nothing to the community and to the current championship points. Because, yeah, if you win a regionals, it doesn't give you a free trip to nationals. It doesn't give you anything towards worlds like it used to. So they needed a revamp. That's why I like this big play Pokemon changes. So hopefully it'll calm down some of the elitism and it'll let new players kind of come up and not have to be a part of the existing VGC community. You know, that's why I used to like about old competitive Pokemon, is that you could just kind of come in and be strong as a player, but now like everything's against you if you're trying to do it that way. This year, we're introducing new Championship Series event in each of the 4 core rating zones. European Championships, North American, Latin American, Asian, Pacific will take place throughout this season, are open to all players worldwide. Now, that's actually really interesting because they even mentioned later on in the article that there is going to be like a crossover, so you can just kind of show up in Europe and then go and do really well if you're on vacation. And since there are more events, it's just going to be a bit more likely that if you randomly go on vacation, even if it's with your family or something, you could actually appear at a foreign Pokemon event, which kind of helps like with this cross understanding of like how to play Pokemon across the world, and then maybe the events won't stagnate as much. Who knows? Like, metagames kind of merging together is always a cool thing in any esport. These amazing events will feature high championship point payouts and a total prize pool of nearly $250,000 per event. In addition, travel awards and stipends will be available to players worldwide based on championship point performance and their home rating zone. Now, this like was the first one that the first thing that kind of put me off. So I'm like, if these are big changes, then why are you still holding on to the championship points? It seems like they're going to be better with the championship point reward payouts, which is really nice, which could help you like compete in more events and then also qualify for worlds or go to foreign events and stuff like that. So the interesting thing is as we read more, so yeah, stay tuned for more details closer to the events. I'm really, like, it doesn't really mean anything without the actual prize payouts, but now that Pokemon has shifted over to cash prize payouts, that's amazing. But cash prize plus travel awards and stipends, very, very good decision on Pokemon's part. Pokemon Regional Championships will now be more accessible to players around the world and feature bigger prizes. This is very good. Every regionals will offer more than $50,000 in prize money, scholarships, and travel certificates based on attendance. These competitions will be spread more evenly throughout 2017 instead of being clustered over several weekends throughout the year, making it easier for players to attend multiple regionals throughout the season. This was also a pretty big one because, yeah, like, you'd have 3 weeks in a month, and then you'd have like half of the regionals take place in that, or, you know, it wasn't that bad, but you'd have like for these seasons, you know, it'd be like you had 8 or so regionals for one part of the season, and then they'd be stacked on the same weekends or something. So with this being more evenly spread out, it gives you a better chance to attend more events instead of having to be a hardcore no-life VGC player that's like, all right, this weekend I'm going to this regionals, next weekend I'm flying out to this regionals, the weekend after that I'm flying out to that regionals. That should cover me for my championship points. Now I'm going to worlds no matter what. And I really didn't like that system. But also, as I was reading this, you know, every regional will offer more than $50,000 in prize money. I don't know if that's like a good or bad thing, because I don't think they're paying out this much right now, so more regionals with greater prizes either. However, we do have to consider that this is split between VGC and TCG, so it also depends if VGC is going to be equally represented, because the trading card game has always had higher prize payouts, but that makes sense, you know, when you think about it, because TCG is always generating money for the company. VGC, one game releases that takes a lot of money to develop and a lot of time to develop, and then it's kind of done. So TCG, people are always buying packs, people are always participating and putting money towards that. So it's had more in history. So we'll see where this goes. But I mean, say, even if it's like a good split, I think, what, 15,000 and then 35,000 or 20, 30,000 split, something like that. And then also the 3 age groups. So, I mean, realistically, that means a regional should have like a $2,500 payout for first place in VGC. And if it does, that is absolutely worth participating for. Because right now, regionals, they're only worth the championship points. And unless you rack up enough championship points, there's no reason to participate in any Pokemon events whatsoever. Because, yeah, I get first place at regionals. Before all these changes and before the cash prizes, I get a 3DS, a little trophy and a pat on the back. Like, that's what you get. But now if this actually starts feeling like a serious thing, you know, if I show up to regionals and I get, I would imagine that cash rewards probably go down to 4th place, or at least travel stipends. You know, you go to regionals, which used to give you nothing, and now you're walking away with potentially $1,000 in prizes or several $100s in prizes that weren't there before, even for lower participation. I feel like all the way down to 8th place we'll have the current first place prize pool if we're going in 50,000. And I think that makes people a lot more excited towards this, and it turns it into a much more legitimate way to be professional. So great step right here. I cut off somewhere right here. There are no residency restrictions for the 2017 Pokemon Regional Championships. Players are free to travel to foreign events. Travel certificates will be earned at regionals, will be deposited into a travel account that winners may use as they wish. So that's cool that you can use it as you wish. So pretty much like you get money towards airfare or towards any kind of travel like that, and you could use that to go to the next regionals. Or you could say, you know what, I won my regionals, I got my prize, now I can actually go like on a vacation somewhere else, paid for by Pokemon. Or also you can use that to get to the next regional. So since they'll be more spread out, it's like, oh, I've always wanted to visit here. Now that I got a little bit of travel reward, I can go to that regionals. And I think it helps that snowball. It doesn't make it as pay to win, because now your skill can actually get you from event to event instead of just going to as many events as possible and eventually getting enough points. Like, currently it's something really silly. Like, you used to just go to nationals, and if you got top 128 at nationals and top 64 at all the regionals, and then you got your premier events and maybe showed up online or something, you could make it to worlds while being a very middling player that just has a lot of money to make it to events. So hopefully it's not as abusable, but I do like just the higher payout. City championships will now be known as League Cup events, so this is TCG. Participating hobby stores will be eligible to host one League Cup event per quarter, giving TCG players more opportunities in their local area. That's really cool, because that means the local card shop you're going to, it's like, hey guys, we have the big event, and there's going to be serious prizes for this one. Championship point structure will be for top finishers at League Cup events, or will be the same as former city championships. Pokemon League challenges will return for entry-level events, giving TCG players a great place to get started on more opportunities to complete local events. Now, I love that, honestly. I did 2 leagues, I believe, back when they were like giving away the element symbol badges and stuff like that. Also, when they were giving away the patches for Heart Gold, Soul Silver, I had some fun at that. So at least, you know, they're bringing that back. They're revamping it. I always got smashed in cities because I didn't have a serious deck, but you know, that's kind of it. Premier Challenge and Mid-Season Showdown will return in 2017. Championship Series, the Premier Challenge and Mid-Season Showdown events will return in the 2017 Championship Series as local events for Pokemon video game players. That's kind of crazy. Like, the Premier events, so they're returning, and it's going to be more local. Now, the Premier Challenge was, I think, one of the biggest problems to the current championship point system. Premier Challenges will provide players with frequent opportunities to play at local events and try out new strategies in smaller events. Mid-Season Showdowns are larger events that will give players an opportunity to complete for a greater number of championship points in their local area. So it looks like they're kind of doing the cities thing into League Cup events. So now we have like maybe a lot more Premier Challenges, and then a big mid-season showdown at that amongst like maybe a little bit larger of an area. So it's like so we have, instead of Premier Challenges being like the free points, we have like free points, a mini regionals, and then like a ton of regional events everywhere. So that should give a lot of people a lot of opportunities to like actually do something. I think that's also one of the biggest problems with the current system, is that there's so few events that the 1 or 2 events that you can actually make it out to, if you have a bad performance or if you don't have any experience at regional events, you're going to totally get destroyed. Like, there's no way for I'm not saying that new players can't do well, but a lot of new players, like, the environment at regionals is totally different to anything you ever expect that first time, and you might not be prepared for that specific regional meta or for the players that show up, and then you can actually lose the pressure, or at least just, you know, people have a bad day as well, and this at least mitigates that, which I think is another big thing. Now, I'm really wondering if there's going to be a lot more premier events or mid-season showdowns, because where I live, there's almost no premier events. Like, I haven't been able to get access to premier events in 2 years, so maybe if they open that up a bit more, it could be a little better. Also, mid-season showdowns hopefully being a bit more accessible could help as well. Now, I see this maybe creating a problem of even more CP point farming and stagnation, so I'm wondering how it's going to work. Like, if the premier challenges give even lower amounts than they give right now, it will make it easier to farm, but it won't be as free as it is now. Mid-season showdowns and regionals might have a bit more, so it still feels pay to win, but it's a lot more fair, and it makes it a lot more worth just going out there, especially if, like, there are championship points and stuff like that. So at every event listed above, players can earn championship points to qualify for the most prestigious event in the Pokemon Championship Series, the World Championships. Championship point totals are needed to qualify for the World Championships and will be announced in September. So, I wonder if they're going to be doing total championship points like they did this year, because the first time they did championship points, it was based off of the top players. Like, the top 40 got a trip, or they got invited to Worlds, and then, like, the top performers of that got actually, like, flown out, or at least they had the travel awards to Worlds for having the highest amount of championship points. So I'm wondering how that's actually going to break down, since the totals might have to be a little higher with more events going on, or maybe they're going to have more restrictions. Like, right now, you can only have a certain amount of premier challenges, a certain amount of mid-season showdowns, and regionals. So I'm wondering if maybe what they maybe need to do is close down on the number that you can actually submit for points. So that's where, like, the championship points kind of get messy. More events does make it a lot more fair to kind of do, like, the shotgun approach. We'll see. Also, this is where it gets really interesting. Play Pokemon will no longer host Pokemon state or national championships. Play Pokemon team may approve independently operated national championships on a case-by-case basis. The championship point prizes available at these entries will vary. That's weird. So, Play Pokemon isn't hosting nationals. Like, there's no official nationals, but if there's, like, an event or some kind of community or something that maybe gets a nationals going, it will be sponsored with a couple of points and a couple of prizes, but it's not going to be as big. And I think that's the good one right here, because nationals used to be something prestigious. Like, you had to win or at least do really well at regionals to go to nationals, to do well there, and then that's how you qualified for Worlds. And that makes sense on, like, a competitive sport idea. But recently, they opened up Nationals to everyone. Also, I don't think people realize that Nationals isn't really a massive event. It is on championship points, but it doesn't really justify how many points they give. So right here, it takes 350 points to qualify for Worlds this year, and it's at 366 for top 16. So actually, top 16 gets into Worlds for an open event that anyone can participate in. Now, a lot of very top competitive players will be going to this event, so it's a more stacked event. But as for the total player turnout, it's not too much larger than regionals. Like, Nationals is effectively a larger regionals with 10 times the prizes, or like 10 times the reward potential, because it's just like the local the local regionals for that area for the people that show up, and then, you know, you could get some kind of upset or something like that. I think that Nationals just was way unbalanced in the point system, and like I said, if you get like top 64 at Nationals, that changes everything about the events, and it also could make it really bad for a lot of other players. Like, oh man, I don't feel like going out to all these premier events to farm points. You show up at Nationals, and then you were just actually a couple of premier events from going to Worlds. So I think with that, it just kind of focuses it on, you go in this pool of smaller events, and then you kind of emerge into Worlds for that, and that'd be pretty good. Now, I'm thinking with this National Championships, if they're doing it on a case-by-case basis, I'm wondering if that's more for, like, smaller countries or countries that didn't have, like, a lot of opportunities for regionals or something. I feel like they shouldn't have a nationals in America this year, or, like, other larger countries that already have a sustainable, like, kind of championship point system. I really hope for that, honestly, because, yeah, that kind of, like, puts the system back in, like, or maybe it has a lot less points, you know, championship points and prizes at these events will vary. I just like the idea of more regionals and being able to, like, get something out of the mid-season showdowns and regionals, which will now be hopefully more accessible. Country's large, the states are pretty spread out. Sometimes, you know, if you live in a bad area, it's not going to affect you too much. But I think this does give more opportunities, and it should reduce some of the stagnation and problems that we see in our current system. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.